The space western has been a staple of cult science fiction for a while now. In the 1960s, Star Trek was described by Gene Roddenberry as Wagon Train to the Stars, Wagon Train being a popular western at the time. The show saw a crew exploring a final frontier. They even had an episode where Kirk met Wyatt Earp. George Lucas borrowed popular western tropes such as the rowdy cantina or the mysterious gunslinger when he made 1977's Star Wars, mixing it with samurai movies and inventive science fiction aesthetics to create a film that would leave an indelible mark on the culture. In the early 2000s, fresh off Angel and Buffy, Joss Whedon would invent his own spin on the space western with Firefly, a group of misfits and scoundrels trying to stay fed while living on the frontier of a new galactic civilization. Robbing trains and transporting literal cattle at one point, Firefly, in its later film Serenity, wear its western influences on its sleeve. Now, at this point, you're probably excited because you think I'm going to be talking about Star Trek, Star Wars, or maybe even Firefly. Well, as much as you would love me, and as much as I can, well, today I'm not talking about any of those things. Instead, here's a review of Outland. Released in 1981 by Warner Brothers, Outland was written and directed by Peter Hyams and stars Sean Connery. A space western in every way a film can be, instead of the frontier town on the edge of the Old West, the film transports its setting to an industrial mining facility on Jupiter's moon Io. Still, it carries over the themes of the classic western into the future setting, such as the morally upright lawman against a corrupt vice lord. Thematically, it's even a spiritual remake of one of the all-time classic westerns, the 1952 film High Noon. If you've never seen High Noon, then stop this review and go watch it. Seriously, it's amazing, even 70 years later. Good, now you've seen it. So you will know it's about a small frontier town marshal played by Gary Cooper, who on the eve of retirement learns that a vicious gang of outlaws is arriving to kill him. He seeks help from the town people he was protecting for years, only to find them ignoring him out of sense of self-preservation. He stands alone and must face the men coming to kill him. Outland brings a new twist on that story, this time following Marshal William O'Neill, played by Sean Connery, who has recently been transferred to the distant moon Io with his wife and son. The place he's stationed is a dirty, dark, sleazy mining facility full of ex-cons, hookers, dealers, and company men only concerned with profits to be made. In his introduction with the station heads, he meets General Manager Mark Shepard. No, not that one. Shepard tells O'Neill that he should turn a blind eye to petty crimes and drug use because
I work these people hard, and I let them play hard. So when it comes time for them to let off steam, you have to allow them some room. As long as no harm's done, just give them a little room.
However, lately, blowing off steam mostly includes workers flying into psychotic fits and subjecting themselves to explosive decompression via spacesuitless walks out the nearest airlock. One man even goes into a rage and holds a woman hostage. The film also has its fair share of gore and even a nice head explosion at one point. Not in my top 5 head explosions, but it's a decent effort. In the first of many abandonments for the Marshal, his wife leaves the station almost immediately, taking their young son with her. It's hard to blame her. She openly laments how Marshal O'Neill's job has dragged them from station to station, and in a later conversation she points out how their son has never set foot on Earth, or even experienced fresh air. Still, this leaves O'Neill a man alone. Investigating the recent upswings in death, Marshal O'Neill visits Dr. Lazarus. No, not that one. Yeah, that's the one. Lazarus explains that the last 3 months have seen dozens of sudden deaths from suicides and accidents that have been the result of psychotic breaks. Testing the blood from the latest victim, Lazarus discovers traces of a powerful new amphetamine. The new drug lets workers work harder and longer, leading to record new profits for the company. More investigation uncovers a conspiracy to ship in thousands of doses of the drugs under the blind eye of O'Neill's paid-off deputy, while the whole enterprise is being run by Shepard himself, using the aid of 2 ex-cons to distribute the drug. O'Neill makes quick work of dismantling the distribution network and finding and destroying the latest shipments of amphetamine. It's a victory short-lived because Shepard makes a call to the company heads. They provide Shepard with an ultimatum. They are sending 2 hitmen to dispatch O'Neill, But should they fail, the next men are coming for Shepard. The third act is really just the build-up to the confrontation with the hitmen. O'Neill is again abandoned, his men all ignore him, with his own deputy unable to even look him in the eye. He asks the station heads for help, echoing a line from Cooper's High Noon.
I could use a little help.
They return his request with anger at the Marshal for disrupting the status quo. A giant ticking red clock even counts down the arrival of the hitmen at all time. This plot device was, unintentionally or not, echoed in the 2009 film Moon. By the way, Moon is a true classic, and I'm going to talk a lot about it someday, I promise. The clock, by the way, is just a small part of the biggest thing I love about this movie. Let me talk to you about production design. Okay, so I'm going to lay this out there. Alien is a very important film to me. It's honestly my favorite movie. A very large portion of that love comes from Alien's wonderful design. The look of the Nostromo, this gritty, grungy flying oil rig filled with small details like danger signage and unaddressed heavy equipment sitting idly in the corner. The Nostromo feels like a living, breathing spaceship in a fully realized world. So this should come as high compliment when I say that Outland's Con Am mining outpost 27 feels easily like it's set in the Alien universe. The living quarters of the workers have this prison-like quality with rows upon rows of bunks and cages at a multi-level open-air facility. People are crammed together in this hellish, dirty, industrial facility. The miniature work is amazing. Several times in the film, characters move around in spacesuits among the megastructures in Outpost 27. The end of the film involves a fight on this giant radio array that sparks with electricity when it's touched. If design and the look of the film is its strength, then Outland's biggest weakness is its dialogue.
This is no place for heroes. You try to bust him, you're messing with more than you think. You're talking about the general manager. He's a real hotshot with a company. You're talking about big money. You're talking about people and places that we only know from letterhead.
It's not terrible, but it's not great. Most lines come off as very utilitarian. They exist only to drive the plot forward. They don't really explain any character. There are a few notable standouts. The final scene between O'Neill and Shepard is a clear winner. The two have very clear motivations and strong characteristics, and Shepard sly dances around O'Neill's accusations until he finally breaks and promises death upon the Marshal.
Just swing easy.
Marshal, you're dead.
Outland is directed by Peter Hyams. Hyams is a very accomplished director who has directed several science fiction films bordering just on greatness. Previously to Outland, he had success with Capricorn 1, a film about NASA faking the Mars landing and have to assassinate 3 astronauts to cover it up. Yes, that is O.J. Simpson, by the way. Following Outland, Hyams directed the adaptation of 2010, The Year We Make Contact, a sequel to the highly influential Kubrick film 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2010 is a mostly successful film that seeks to answer some of 2001's more puzzling questions. Like Outland, 2010 showcases the same grungy, hard science fiction that Alien popularized. Also, like Outland, it stumbles in its final moments. Hyams would later go on to direct the fantastic monster film The Relic, but would also direct A Sound of Thunder, which, well, it's a fantastic, terrible film that's a joy to watch in a self-flagellation sort of way. Seriously, look at it. Oh no. If you are a fan of the more grounded works of science fiction and have burned through other greater films, then give Outland a watch. While the film has problems with dialogue and characterizations, it manages to create a believable world and successfully adapt the themes of classic westerns. Outland is like a comfort film for me, like slipping on a warm, if very dirty, blanket. While not even achieving much cult status, Outland is a standout amongst the crowded field of 80s sci-fi.